Welcome to the next installment of our how-to webinars from the TPS Southern Region. Today I'm going to be talking about finding political cartoons because we've had a lot of requests to cover that topic. It's a very popular type of primary source. It's very engaging for students and for the general audience. So I'm going to give you some tips today on how to find them on the Library of Congress website, plus some kind of ways to use them as well. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen and open up a browser and start off at the Library of Congress homepage. And from there, I'm going to go where I usually go, which is digital collections. Now, in order to get at the political cartoons, you have to remember they are almost always housed within the prints and photographs division. So that's the first place that you want to filter for. And then now we have 73 different collections, but I can narrow it down even further by focusing on the fact that they are political in nature, right? It's there in the name. So if we filter under the topic that says government, law, and politics, then now we only have 10 collections that kind of get us closer to the political cartoons. And you can see that some of them are more photograph collections, like the Brady Handy collection, but the major repositories of political cartoons at the Library of Congress you will find here, including cartoon drawings, the Herb Block collection, which of course is, I think, the library's favorite. Herbert Block was a very prolific cartoonist from the 20th century. The Swan collection, which has thousands of really great things. There are American cartoon prints. There are British cartoon prints. The Goldstein Foundation collection, and then the rest are largely photographs and posters. So let's say, for instance, you wanted to search within one of these collections. Now, also, you want to start off by filtering out your search results. And the most important thing to do, especially when it comes to political cartoons, is to scroll down to the bottom on the left-hand side. Look for access condition, and you want to click on available online, and that will mean sometimes you filter out most of the hits like you do here, but it also means that the other ones are under uncertain copyright and you can only view them in person in Washington, D.C. at the Library of Congress and not really kind of get a larger JPEG or a larger file size from the website. So you want to look at the ones that are available online. That way, you know, you can blow them up, and a lot of these will be public domain. So, but there is a way to get around that, which I'll show you in just a moment. But one thing to note when you are searching with this is that when we talk about blowing things up so we can look at them more closely, a lot of times that's not quite enough. All right, the Library of Congress is swamped right now, but it's okay because I actually have something I want to show you specifically. And that is an example from the late 18th century. And so there are amazing political cartoons from early American history, but they're kind of hard to read, as most things from that era. And so if you want to get them large enough for you to be able to read all of the little words, and you try to zoom in as far as you can from the bibliographic page, this is the best I can do here. This is a really great political cartoon because it's the funeral of Miss AME, the Stamp Act. And you can see this tiny little coffin right here that he's holding. And the Stamp Act, of course, was one of the things that led up to the American Revolutionary War, but I can't really tell what's going on in this image, so what do? Well, most of the time we tell you to disregard the TIFF file here and just get the largest JPEG. But specifically for political cartoons, you want to download the TIFF file. And so when I do that, I have to open it up within Photoshop. And so this is what it looks like when I open it up. And I want to zoom in. So how close can you get from the TIFF file? Definitely close enough to read each and every one of all those little letters. and to see the people's faces and to get a better idea of what is going on. And so this way you can kind of copy and paste, you can kind of make excerpts out of it, and share it that way. One other thing I wanted to show you to pay attention with when it comes to political cartoons is sometimes the Library of Congress bibliographic page will have a summary blurb where they talk about what is going on in there and offer you some of the context that's missing from just the cartoon itself, which is really great, especially for students who don't understand symbolism or satire or the historic context just yet. So this one is very helpful because it tells you the names of some of the people who are depicted here. Like the guy at the front is Reverend W. Scott. The guy carrying the coffin is Grenville, and then it has the other names of the people in there too. So those are a couple of the tips for really making the most out of, especially these kind of earlier ones that are a little bit less accessible just by looking at them. All right, well, let's say that you want to look up her block, but you want to be able to make sure that you're getting online the ones that you might not be able to see in his normal collection here. So the way to do that is to go through the exhibitions because the exhibitions will allow you some kind of blown up images that are not normally available in the regular collections. So let's see, to get to exhibitions, you can just go to Discover and then kind of go to the popular. All right, so this is in need of updating and it's a little bit clunky to search through, but if we just enter her block, remember his name is Herbert Block, so he was known as her block. The Library of Congress loves her block so much they have not one but 8 online exhibitions devoted to his artwork. And the very first one was actually done right before he died, so he was a collaborator on it. But let's go to the first one that comes up, Her Block Gallery. Ever since 1961, curators have been selecting 5 political cartoons that represent a year 50 years ago. So this first one was done in 2011. And so, for example, this is something that you can blow up and get a really wonderful full-size image of that's perfect to use so that people can actually read it and make sense of it. So this one, of course, is called Put Out That Light. Do you want to blow up the place? And the light is referring to the torch that the Statue of Liberty is holding, and these are a pile of Russian nuclear armaments. And to get a little bit of context for that, you can read the blurb that goes along with it. That's Khrushchev depicted there. And so these exhibitions are a really great way to use political cartoons because they provide you with some of that context as well as a larger image of the cartoon itself, which is not always available through digital collections. There are several other online exhibitions devoted to political cartoons. One of them is a section within Cartoon America. It's called the Ungentlemanly Art Political Illustrations. So this whole page is devoted to an overview of political cartooning in the United States, starting with Thomas Nast, who is a very famous one, and just kind of going through the decades. And so a lot of the political cartoonists in America, at least, are men, but some of them were actually women as well. And there is an exhibition devoted to women cartoonists. It's called Drawn to Purpose. And there's a whole section in here on political cartoonists that were women. And this includes, Ann Telnaes, Anita Kuntz, and other famous cartoonists who might not be quite as well known as their male counterparts sometimes. Now, the Swan Collection I mentioned in digital collections, they have a few exhibitions as well that highlight some of the best known of their cartoons. And so you can get to those from the Swan Gallery exhibition site. And this is a reminder that this is not just American history covered here, but also British history, And French history. There's several French political cartoons, some of them from even the French Revolutionary War era that'd be helpful for world history teachers, and other places as well. So those are some of the best ways to look at political cartoons on the Library of Congress website. There are also some places within the teachers page where you can get some support in using these with classrooms and educators. So for example, if you go under Getting Started with Primary Sources, and then you go under Teachers Guides, one of these is geared specifically towards analyzing political cartoons. So look for that Join or Die thumbnail, which of course is the very first political cartoon that came out of the United States of America, thanks to Benjamin Franklin. And so these are questions that you can use if you want to jumpstart that analysis process, specifically looking at political cartoons. Also, a couple of things from the teachers page I want to show you. If you go under classroom materials, you can search in the search bar for political cartoons and you will get a lesson plan and a primary source set dealing with them. So the lesson plan is called Political Cartoons Finding Point of View. You see the thumbnail is the Stamp Act funeral one that we just looked at. And the primary source set is called Political Cartoons and Public Debates. There's Join or Die again, as well as other examples from other eras of American history. We at TPS at MTSU, we also have created a primary source set that looks at political cartoons, specifically from the late 19th, early 20th centuries. And so if you go under primary source sets and you go for Reconstruction of Modern America, that's where you'll find it. And this one is a little unlike most of our primary source sets in that it also has explanatory blurbs to go with each political cartoon, as well as a thought question. So it's good for just putting straight in front of people and kind of telling the story that way. Also, other ideas, you can do a search within the TPS Teachers Network for political cartoons. You can search within the teacher's blog at the Library of Congress website, as well as the blog for the Prints and Photographs Division, which is called Picture This. So that is how you can get to a lot of kind of discussions that are dealing directly with the topic of political cartoons and how to use them with people and stories about them. So that's all I have time to show you today. And so if you have any other questions, of course, you can always contact us. You can find that information on our website, and you can find the URL for our website for the Southern region in the description box below. See you next time.